Newcastle have made a formal £35 million move for Victor Muñoz, the Osasuna winger, who reportedly wants St James's Park, but there's a Real Madrid twist hiding in the background. Subscribe to the Gallowgate view, because this deal could tell us everything about how ruthless Newcastle really are this summer. According to reports coming out of Spain via Sport Witness, Newcastle have now made a formal offer worth around £35 million for Osasuna winger Victor Muñoz. And all reet lads, this is the one that actually feels serious. Not the noise, not the lazy transfer waffle. Not some agent chucking our name into the mix because Newcastle gets clicks now. This is being reported as a proper formal offer. Real money on the table. £35 million for a 22-year-old left winger who apparently wants to come to St James's Park. And honestly, man, that matters. Because there's a massive difference between a player being linked with us and a player actually wanting us. We've seen it before. Some lads use Newcastle to get a better contract somewhere else. Some flirt with the project, then run the second the old guard starts sniffing around. But if Munoz genuinely wants this move, if he looks at SJP, looks at the noise, looks at what we're building, and thinks, aye, that's for me, then I'm listening. Now look, this whole thing is happening because we need proper quality on the left. And replacing Anthony Gordon is not something you do with a shrug and a cheap gamble. Gordon gave us pace, bite, arrogance, directness, that nasty little edge you need in the Premier League. He could get under a fullback's skin within 5 minutes, and we'll miss that if we don't replace it properly. So this cannot be a soft signing. This can't be some tidy winger who looks lovely in a highlights clip, but disappears when it's freezing in the northeast, and some 6'2" full-back is kicking lumps out of him. We need someone who can take the ball, drive at people, get knocked over, get back up and go again. And from what's being said, Munoz has a bit of that about him. 6 goals, 2 assists, 75 successful dribbles, 22 successful crosses, 167 duels won in La Liga. That tells you something. That tells you he's not just standing wide waiting for the perfect pass. He's involved, he's battling, he's taking players on, he's trying to make things happen, he's not hiding. And I love that because St James Park can smell a passenger from a mile away. The Gallowgate end doesn't need a winger who plays safe every time. We need a lad who gets the ball and makes the crowd rise before he's even beaten his man. You know that feeling? Ball goes out wide. The fullback starts backing off. The crowd gets louder. You can almost feel the whole stadium leaning forward. That's what we need again. A winger who gives SJP that little spark. And I'll say this as well. £35 million in this market is not pocket change, but it's not madness either. Not if the scouting department genuinely believe he's got another level. 22 years old, already tested in La Liga, came through Real Madrid, built himself up at Osasuna, and now, apparently, he's on our radar with a serious offer behind it. That's the sort of move ambitious clubs make. Not waiting until everyone in Europe agrees he's class. Not waiting until the fee becomes £70 million and the self-appointed elite turn up with their usual arrogance. You get there early, you move sharp, you back your recruitment, that's how you grow. But here's the thing. It's Newcastle. So of course there's a complication. Real Madrid are still lurking in the background. They've reportedly got a buyback clause, and they're also due 50% of any transfer fee. So even when we find a player who fits the profile, even when he wants the move, even when the offer is there, there's still some giant Spanish shadow in the corner waiting to make things awkward. Honestly, you couldn't write it. It's like finally getting a pint at the Strawberry on a packed match day, then some gadgie taps you on the shoulder and says half of it belongs to him. But that doesn't mean we walk away. It just means we need to be smart. We need to know exactly what we're buying, exactly what control we'd have, and exactly whether Madrid can cause trouble later. Because the last thing we need is developing a player, turning him into a Premier League weapon, getting the Toon army attached to him, then watching Real Madrid stroll back in with a clause like they own the place. That would be absolutely infuriating. So the deal has to be right. But the player? The profile? The timing? I get it. I really do. Because if you're Eddie Howe, you're not just buying a winger, you're buying energy, you're buying threat, you're buying someone who can help change the feel of our attack. There were times last season where we looked too predictable. Ball into midfield, recycle it. Out wide, back again, cross-blocked, crowd groans, repeat. We need more chaos. Controlled chaos, but chaos. Someone who can break the shape of a defense by himself. Someone who makes the opposition double up. Someone who gives our midfielders more room because defenders are terrified of leaving him 1 against 1. That's what top wide players do. They don't just create chances, they change the whole mood of a match. And imagine this lad under the lights at SJP on a European night. The cold air, the black and white flags, the noise rolling down from the stands, local hero still ringing in your ears. First time he gets the ball near the Gallowgate, beats his man, fires one across the box. That's how you become loved here. Not by talking, not by kissing the badge after 2 weeks, by running yourself into the ground and giving the crowd something to believe in. That's the standard. And this is where I think Newcastle need to be ruthless. We can respect what Gordon gave us, but we can't sit there crying into our pint about what's gone. Football moves fast. Players leave. Loyalty is rare. We know that better than anyone after the Isak mess. Class player, shame he didn't have the loyalty to match. So when someone goes, the club has to respond with ambition, not emotion. And this potential Munoz deal feels like a response. Not the finished answer, maybe. Not the superstar name some fans want. But a serious answer. A young, dynamic winger with room to explode. Now, some fans will say, why not go bigger? Why not Rafael Leao? Why not pay whatever it takes and make a massive statement? And I get that. I genuinely do. There's a part of me that wants Newcastle to walk into the market, slam the money down and remind everyone that we're not here to make up the numbers. After the Ashley years, after being treated like a sleeping giant with no alarm clock, there's always that hunger to see us flex a bit. But PSR is still sitting there like a miserable old bloke in the corner ruining everyone's night. The system is designed to protect the clubs already at the top. We know it, they know it, everybody knows it. So sometimes, the clever move is not the flashiest one. Sometimes, it's the one where you get a player just before he becomes unreachable. That might be Munoz, and honestly, I'd rather we sign a hungry player who sees Newcastle as the destination than a bigger name who sees us as a backup plan. That's important, because St James's Park is not a stepping stone, not anymore. This club has lifted the Carabao Cup. This club has brought European nights back. This club has got owners who've shown ambition, a fan base that fills the city with noise, and a project that's still got so much room to grow. We should not be begging players to come here. They should be desperate to be part of it. And if Munoz is desperate, if he's genuinely looking at this move and thinking this is where he becomes a star, then, I'm interested. But I'll be honest, I still want more. Because that's what ambition does to you. It changes your standards. Years ago, we'd have taken any winger with 2 working legs and a YouTube compilation. Now, we're sitting here asking whether a Spanish international call-up with strong La Liga numbers is enough. That's not arrogance. That's growth. That's what happens when you stop accepting survival as the ceiling. And that's why this story matters. It's not just about Victor Muñoz. It's about what kind of Newcastle we want to be. Are we moving early and smart? Are we building a squad with pace, hunger, and resale value? Are we backing Eddie Howe with players who fit the way we want to play? Or are we still stuck in that old fear where every fee feels too big and every risk feels too scary? I'm done with scared Newcastle. We didn't survive the Ashley years just to start shopping scared. That's the line, man. That's the whole thing. If the scouts believe Munoz is the one, if Howe sees him as a proper first-team option, and if the financial structure works despite the Real Madrid mess in the background, then get it done. Not in 3 weeks. Not after 10 more clubs get involved. Not after the price goes up. Get it done. Because the Premier League doesn't wait. The Champions League doesn't wait. The old guard definitely won't wait to laugh if we hesitate and miss out. And I can already hear some fans saying he's not proven enough. Fair. That's a fair concern. £35 million is serious money. 6 goals and 2 assists isn't exactly screaming guaranteed superstar. But stats never tell the whole story with wingers. Dribbles, duels, carries, pressure, movement, bravery on the ball, that stuff matters, especially in a side that needs more threat out wide. And if he brings that directness, if he brings that little bit of bite, if he gives us a left side that full backs hate dealing with, then suddenly the fee looks a lot more reasonable. That's how transfers work. Expensive on the day. Obvious 6 months later. We've seen it before. So, I'm not calling this a guaranteed masterstroke. I'm not pretending he's the next Ginola after reading one report. Didn't get it twisted. But I am saying this is the sort of serious, forward-thinking move I want Newcastle making. Young, hungry, dynamic. Wants the club. Fits a need. That's a canny starting point. Now it's on the club to finish it properly. No messing about. No dragging it into a saga. No letting Real Madrid's clauses turn it into a circus. Do the work, protect ourselves. And if the deal makes sense, bring him to Tyneside. Because the Gallowgate doesn't need promises. It needs players. And if Victor Muñoz walks out at St James's Park, black and white shirt on, cold night in Newcastle, crowd roaring his name for the first time, he'll understand very quickly. This isn't just another move. This is Newcastle United. And around here, if you fight for us, we'll back you like nowhere else. So here's the question for the Toon army, and I want proper arguments in the comments. Would you take Victor Muñoz for £35 million because he fits the project? Or is this the moment Newcastle should stop being sensible and go all in for a superstar like Rafael Leão, even if it costs far more? Perfect.